I would like to continue with our expert discussion on optimizing conditions for sustainable projects. And therefore, I would like to welcome my next guests. First of all, with an expertise in regulatory framework for environment, climate, and energy. Please welcome the Director of the Department of Environmental and Energy Policy at the Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, Jürgen Streitner. And with an expertise in low risk, welcome, in low risk and attractive financing for green projects at Österreichische Kontrollbank AG, welcome Markus, Hoskovec. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome on stage. It's good to have you here with us today. And Jürgen Streitner, I would like to start with you and with the first question. So we want to talk about regulatory framework of the future, which will be a lot affected by this super election year. I think we can call it like that. So both in Europe and in Austria, we're facing elections, and that will change the political landscape, of course. So what can we expect in terms of environmental, energy and climate policy for all businesses and especially for the green tech sector?
First of all, I would like to start to say that we have, I think that we have in Austria and in Europe a fantastic green tech sector, fantastic companies, and we know from various studies that these companies are enormously innovative, that these companies are very resilient when it comes to a crisis. We saw this in the energy crisis, we saw this in the COVID crisis, and these companies are strongly export oriented. So we have here really strong sector that of course needs a regulatory framework, and a regulatory framework we are also working for. And the question is how we can strengthen the regulatory framework. And I think we started, or what green tech companies need is first of all a stable framework to know where do we go, and secondly, a very innovative friendly framework. And I think with the European Green Deal, we started with many regulations and directives. We started to give we didn't start. We have a really strong and stable framework. We know where to go. We know the climate targets, we know targets in the waste sector, and so on and so on. Circular economy, we have this. The big question for me is the European Green Deal that we have also supporting innovation, and therefore I think we can say we can do better in innovation. We have with the Green Deal a lot of bureaucracy coming up when you think of the obligations, the reporting obligations on supply chains, the CSDDD or green claims and so on. We have companies that are suffering from over-regulation. We have regulation that is sometimes going too far by saying to say this technology has to be used, this application. So this is, in my point of view, for the next commission and also in Austria, these topics we have to discuss to become a more innovative friendly, to get a more innovative friendly framework. We have to focus on to reduce red tape, we have to focus to reduce bureaucracy, and get more innovation and an open-minded framework.
Yes, definitely. I think we can all agree on that. Markus Hoskovec is with us here today as well. So, speaking about economy, of course, we don't only need the political framework to do that, but we also need the financing. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what is the Österreichische Kontrollbank and what role do you play, especially when it comes to risk coverage and the financing of projects.
Very good morning, and thanks for having me. OeKB is the official Austrian export credit agency, which means we have a mandate by the Republic of Austria to support the Austrian export companies and the international clients. We do so by basically doing two things. We take risk and we provide cheap liquidity to banks that do export financing. When I said we take risk, this is not actually quite precise. In fact, the Republic of Austria takes the risk, so it's a federal guarantee. And Kontrollbank manages this risk-taking scheme. Now, the risk, or one risk that we typically take, is the non-payment risk in export transactions. So imagine you're an Austrian export company, you have a client in, I don't know, Paraguay, and you want to sell him a machine. The exporter would like to have the money right away, but the client always wants to pay over a longer time, so he can pay for the machine as he already uses it and earns money. And of course, the longer the repayment period gets and the more difficult the political situation in the country of destination gets, the more important it gets to have some kind of insurance. And OeKB can insure the risk of non-payment and also the risk in the production phase. So the exporter gets a very comprehensive cover. And when he has insurance by OeKB, he will sleep better. But the idea of export promotion is not actually to make people sleep better, but to promote export sales. Now, if the exporter is smart, he will talk to his bank, he will talk to OeKB, and he will put together a package solution, Austrian product with Austrian technology, Austrian quality, plus affordable long-term financing. That is, in fact, the essence of the idea of export promotion, and we've been doing this very successfully for over 75 years. We have a lot of experience, and last year OeKB even won an award, the TXF Industry Choice Award for Best Performing ECA. So we are really customer-oriented, we are fast, and we do everything to help the Austrian exporters and their international clients.
Coming back to you, Mr. Streitner, and coming back to a bit to political frameworks, again in the EU and very relevant for the construction sector, of course. There's a very recent EU legislative act which was concluded right before the end of this EU election term. So it's the Buildings Directive, EPBD, the Environmental Performance of Buildings Directive. What are the opportunities and challenges of this very important new legislative? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, again, I think the opportunities are that we have a clear pathway. In the directive, it said that it set the target that we want to have zero emission buildings by 2050. By 2030 already, all new buildings and renovated buildings should be zero emission buildings. So it's clear targets that has been set. Not only in this directive, we have also a new emission trading system that will start in 2027. That is also, it's broadening emission trading system. It's also the building sector that is into it. And this gives also a clear signal as the allowances in this emissions sector will be, the allowances of the emissions will be reduced every year. So it will be secure that the target will be achieved. So I think this is a really strong investment signal with a lot of opportunities for our companies. The positive thing in this directive is that the directive is, in my point of view, technology open. There was also other ideas to say, like, I want to forbid some technologies or certain technologies for certain applications and so on. This is not in this directive, so it's very positive what we have here. Maybe one thing also in the directive I want to mention is what is very interesting, that there's an obligation now in the future for new buildings to have to install PV. A PV obligation. Well, it's I would say it's fine in terms of I would say a simple energy supply side view. But I think what is important for us to further think of innovations, innovative PV, integrated PV, other terms, storage, other terms of energy, other things of energy production. I think we have to focus much more on high technological solutions and more on R&D in the future.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Hoskovec, coming back to you, we're of sustainability. That's the main topic. So, what role does sustainability play for the Österreichische Kontrollbank?
Sustainability has been playing a very important role in OeKB for over 20 years. Because Austria is an OECD member, and this export promotion scheme that we are managing is harmonized on an OECD level. So there are very clear rules about what you have to do in terms of environmental and social assessment of the projects that you support. And we've been doing this for over 20 years, and we have a lot of in-house experience also in this, this topic. We've also been publishing sustainability reports for over 20 years, long before it was a legal or regulatory obligation to do so on a voluntary basis. We have just issued our 5th sustainability bond, and because you mentioned the regulatory burden, and there's a lot of legal obligations you have to fulfill nowadays, I think one of the main pain points is the availability of the ESG data. Because of the regulation, the banks and a lot of this European Green Deal is actually born or implemented by the banking sector. The banks need to have more ESG data about their clients than the clients are obliged to publish. And so we have created an IT solution, a kind of, I would call it, midstream infrastructure for the exchange of ESG data between the many, many companies and the few banks. And it's something that 80% of the Austrian banking sector is currently using. And for the companies, it's free, and I think it's a very smart solution.
And I have to keep an eye on the time just a little bit, but one more question. I would like to bring up one more study, actually. That's the Austrian Environmental Technology by the Industriewissenschaftliches Institut. So this will deliver first results in September, expectedly, and will be published by the end of 2024 or beginning 25. So can you tell us anything about the current status of the project?
Yeah, it's a study we launched together with the Ministry of Economy and also with the Ministry of Climate Action together, and we regularly go deep into the sector and look what is going on. How is the economic development going on in the Greentech sector, and we do it regularly since already 1993. So we also already have a historical view also on the Greentech sector. And we see, at least in the past, in the studies, we saw that there is, I said already in the beginning, that there is certain characteristics of this sector, like resilient, innovative, and so on. But we also see that the turnover is significantly higher than in other sectors, job creation as well. And we expect similar figures this year. We don't know it yet, but it will be published end of this year, beginning next year. We will present the results of the study.
So we'll keep an eye on the calendar and then ask you again when it has been published. Thank you so much. And maybe one last question. Is there a chance for the people in the audience to get in touch with you today? Are you going to stay with us all day and then people can reach out to you?
Definitely, you can contact me anytime. I'm very transparent. I'm on LinkedIn also, and I would really like to talk to many of you and especially talk about this package solution for incentivizing your products.
I definitely will be here at the break. Later on, I have to go to the next meeting, but at the break, I'm still here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. At this point, thanks a lot, and please give a big round of applause to Jürgen Streitner and Markus Hoskovec. Thank you so much.